Today we're going to talk about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers. Some academic vocabulary. The sign of the number is the positive or negative part of the number. We're going to start with the number line. If I have a simple problem, 1 plus 3, I can start at the number 1. Plus always means to the right. So I'm going to move to the right, 1, 2, 3. That's plus 3, which leaves me at 4. So 1 plus 3 is equal to 4. Now, if I have negative 2 minus 2 more, I'm going to start my line at negative 2. So right here is our negative 2. And we're going to go backwards 2 more spaces. 1, 2, negative 2. We go to the left because it's a negative. So if I count over on the number line, I am at negative 4 now. So negative 2 and negative 2 is equal to a negative 4. So if we have the same signs, they're both positive, we keep that sign. If we have both signs, they're both negative, we're keeping that sign, and we simply added up those numbers. Now, if we have different signs, for example, if I have 3 minus 2, then we're going to subtract. I start at 3, which is right here, and I'm going to go 1, 2. That's negative 2. And leaves me at 1. So that equals. Now, if I start with a negative, negative 4 plus 3. I start back here at negative 4, and I go to the right, 1, 2, 3. That's our plus 3, and it leaves me still at negative 1. So if the signs are different, I'm subtracting. Now, the question is, how do I know what the final sign will be while I'm subtracting? Well, let's do one more example. If I have 2 minus 5, so I'm going to start over here at 2. And this is minus 5, so I'm going to go backwards 5 spaces. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 5. That leaves me at negative 3. So that equals negative 3. So there's an easy way to remember this. If you have the same sign, the number gets bigger, which means you're adding and simply keeping the sign. If you have different signs, the number gets smaller, which means you're subtracting. But how do you know which number keeps the signs? Positive versus negative, who wins? It's pretty simple. Just think, if these two were to fight, who would win? Probably the big muscly guy. Same thing with the numbers. If I have 10 minus 30, we know that we're subtracting because we have different signs. So that's going to give me 20. In order to figure out what the sign of your answer is going to be, simply look at the larger number. The larger number is negative, so we keep the negative. If I continue down this path, again, who's going to win? The giant monster or the little stick figure? Obviously the monster. So I say 22 minus 15. They're different signs, so I'm subtracting, which is 7. And then I say, who is bigger? The bigger number is 22, which is positive, so my answer is also positive. So if we do a few practice problems, 3 plus 7, they're both positive, which means I'm going to add to 10, and my answer is still positive. 14 minus 3. Different signs, which means I'm taking away. The bigger number is positive, so that means my answer is going to be positive. 14 take away 3 is 11. Negative 8 plus 3. Again, different signs, so I'm taking away. 8 take away 3 is 5. And then I look, the bigger number is negative, so my answer is negative. Negative 3 and negative 12, same sign, so I'm adding them up to get 15. And the sign is negative, so I'm keeping that negative sign. So if the signs are the same, simply add them and keep the sign. If the signs are different, then you're subtracting, and the bigger number keeps the sign. Moving on to multiply. So if I'm multiplying positives and negatives, a positive times a positive is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative. A negative times a negative is always going to give you a positive. One way I think about this is there are two lines, two negative lines. Well, it takes two lines to create a plus sign. So a negative times a negative is a positive. And this can keep going on and on. If I have a negative times negative times negative, I'm left with two negatives is a positive, and then that leaves me with the other negative. Positive times negative is equal to a negative. Now, if I have four negatives, negative times negative is positive, negative times negative is positive, and I know that a positive times positive is still positive. If we are to do this with numbers, this is what it looks like. I have a positive 5 and a positive 3 gives me a positive 15. Negative 6 times positive 4, a negative times a positive, take care of that first, we know that's negative. And 6 times 4 is 24. Division is the same as multiplying. If I have 24 divided by a negative 3, I have a positive divided by a negative, my answer is negative. Always write down the negatives first so that you don't make those mistakes. Then 24 divided by 3 is 8. Going up to the top, negative 7 times a negative 6. Negative times negative is positive. 7 times 6, 42. Now you don't have to write the plus sign. Parentheses mean the same thing as multiplying. If there's a parentheses there and no signs, then it's multiplying. I have a negative times a positive. My answer is going to be negative. 9 times 4, 36. Negative times a negative gives me a positive. 2 times 5. Another division problem. I have negative divided by positive. Answer is going to be negative. And 21 divided by 4 is still a fraction. That doesn't go in evenly. So we're going to leave it 21 over 4. Just like that. Negative 56 divided by negative 8. Negative divided by negative is a positive. And 56 divided by 8 is 7. So I'm left with a 7. Now, here's some tricky ones. Here I have a negative times a negative right inside there. So what I'm going to do is negative times a negative changes to a positive. Rewrite the problem. That gives you 3 plus 2. So now I'm combining the two things that we've learned today. Negative times negative is a positive, and now I have two positive numbers that can add to 5. Again, I have negative times negative, so we circle that and put a little plus sign so that we know we're adding. And I have negative 4 plus 5. Well, the signs are different, so I'm taking away. That gives me 1, and the bigger number is positive, so my answer is positive.